new report shows a stunning rise in suicides within the armed forces within the last month. 24 possible suicides during the month of January. And listen to this, that is more than the 9 soldiers killed in Afghanistan last month and the 14 killed in Iraq combined. It's a big deal. Jon Soltz is co-founder and chairman of VoteVets.org and served as a captain in the U.S. Army during Operation Iraqi Freedom. And John, we should really ring the alarm bell on this because this is stunning. We now have more soldiers who committed suicide last month than those that died in action in Iraq and Afghanistan combined. What is this bringing light to in terms of the health of our soldiers?
It's to be honest, not very surprising. Those of us who have been in the military. You know, we've relied a lot on Zoloft and Ambien and sleeping pills and antidepressants for a medicated military. VoteVets, we worked with Mark Thompson on a timepiece about 6 or 7 months ago that talked about there's almost 20,000 troops in Iraq and Afghanistan combined out of the 150, 160,000 total that are on these types of medicated antidepressants in a war zone. So when you have 2, 3, 4 deployments, it wears on the mind. 14, 15 months in combat. You never know when you're going to get hit. You come home and your wife's, shacked up with another guy. I mean, it's a really hard thing for an overextended military. And we've got problems actually getting people in the system with diagnosis of PTSD on the VA side, which is a whole nother issue. So it's not surprising. And it's actually, the way we look at it almost is it's a part of the war. Some people die in combat, and then unfortunately some people take their lives at home, and it's just, we're not doing enough.
But is this a sign of the product of a U.S. military that is stretched too thin, that has been stretched to the breaking point?
It's stretched to the breaking point, but it also has to do with the fact that it's not, they don't want to pay for the disabilities when soldiers come home. It's a lot easier to give someone Zoloft and Prozac and send them back to the war zone than it is to say, hold on. Let's see if you actually qualify for post-traumatic stress disorder. If you qualify for PTSD, then you're going to qualify for veterans benefits, and then we have to pay for you on the backside. So it's better to say, pop these pills, you're going to be okay in 6 months, and they keep them in a war zone.
We know, of course, that First Lady Michelle Obama has said she's going to focus on military families. What has President Obama said, and what do we know about the new head of the VA, General Shinseki, and what he plans to do when it comes to the mental health of our men and women in the military?
Yeah, I don't know who they could have picked that would be better or more qualified for this than General Shinseki. He's the former chief of staff of the Army, which means he was the force provider. So not only does he understand the military and combat as someone who lost part of his leg in Vietnam, but he understands the bureaucracy of the Army. I mean, this is largely an Army and Marine Corps problem, which is a branch he's familiar with. So he understands the bureaucratic issues. He understands the mind himself. They just appointed Tammy Duckworth to go over there, who is personal experience with transferring from the Department of Defense medical facilities over into the VA. So they've put some very qualified people in these positions, and I think it's going to take them 18 months, unfortunately, 2 years. I mean, this is like the economy. The economy's in bad shape. So is there's been nothing done on these issues for the last 8 years. The VA's been decimated by the Bush administration. We'll see what, he's put some great people over there.
Yeah, Tammy Duckworth, who lost both of her legs, of course, in a helicopter accident. Jon Soltz, thanks so much. It's a sad report, and hopefully it's a wake-up call for
Listen to this. There's a new report showing a stunning rise in suicides within the armed forces last month. 24 possible suicides during the month of January. And also, that is more than the 9 soldiers killed in Afghanistan last month and the 14 killed in Iraq combined. Jon Soltz is the co-founder and chairman of VoteVets.org, and he served as a captain in the U.S. Army during Operation Iraqi Freedom. Thank you so much, Jon, for joining us. What is your reaction to this number?
Well, unfortunately, I don't find it very surprising. I mean, look, out of the 160,000 troops we have deployed between Iraq and Afghanistan, about 20,000 of them are medicated on different things like Prozac and Zoloft. So, the military has been completely overextended by the Bush administration. 15 months, low-intensity conflict where you never know when you're going to get hit by the enemy. So it's a very mentally tough situation. The military's been overextended, and this has been a problem that's been brewing for a long, long time.
Well, Jon, we've heard the new administration say that they're going to take care of the vets. We've even heard the First Lady possibly will reach out to military families. What would you like to see change now that we are, as I mentioned, seeing a change in the administration?
Well, look, I mean, we're seeing a great start. You have the First Lady saying that she's going to make military families her priority. You've put people over in the VA now like General Shinseki, who's the former chief of staff of the Army, who's a wounded combat veteran from Vietnam. You see Tammy Duckworth has just been nominated for an appointment over there, lost both of her legs in Iraq in a helicopter accident. So I think what you're seeing is a dedication and putting people over in the VA that are going to understand these problems. And I think when we lower our force levels in Iraq, like the president is proposing in 16 months, you're not going to have guys going to Iraq 2, 3, 4 4 times in a 6 or 7 year period, it's going to help us on a mental level. But the other thing is really dealing with the diagnosis of PTSD and these issues as we go forward. We've got to diagnose them properly and treat them properly, not just give you a pill and send you back to combat.
My own father was in the Army for more than 30 years, a master sergeant, and he always talked about the camaraderie and the support of one another. How does this, a number like this, John, affect the morale?
Well, I think it's been a part of the military for a long time. I just think, the press is picking up on it today. The bottom line is that the suicide problem has been an issue for years in the military since these deployments have begun. Like I said, it's very hard to be in combat for 15 months. We're putting a stress on these young Americans we haven't seen for a long time. It's even harder when you come home after a year and maybe your wife's left you for someone else, or in some matters a husband's left a wife for someone else. And the stress on these multiple deployments has really hurt morale for a long, long time. I think people in the military aren't actually surprised by these numbers.
Oh, it's incredible. I'm sure, as you said, people may not be surprised within the military, but people who are watching this certainly would be disturbed and wanting to know what's being done. All right, John, thank you very much for your insight into this. We'll keep track of this.